When you think of Florida, you probably picture beaches, palm trees, and theme parks. But what if we told you some of the most beautiful spots to live here are also surprisingly affordable? Stick around. We're revealing the most beautiful and cheapest places to live in Florida. And some of these towns might just steal your heart. Number 10. Ocala. What do ziplining over limestone canyons, swimming with manatees, and eating barbecue so good it makes Texans jealous all have in common? Believe it or not, they all happen in Ocala, Florida. This town of just over 70,000 blends wild adventure, southern charm, and quiet elegance. Picture green pastures rolling into crystal springs, history tucked into murals, and canyons carved right into the landscape. But the real story here starts with horses. They call Ocala the horse capital of the world, and it's not just a clever nickname. With more than 400 thoroughbred farms and the jaw-dropping World Equestrian Center, an $800 million playground for riders and fans alike, the equestrian spirit runs deep. Even if you've never stepped foot in a stable, you'll find yourself swept up, cheering at dressage events, or just pausing to watch morning mist settle over the paddocks. Beyond the stables and racetracks lies something even wilder. Ocala isn't only about horses. Just beyond town lies a hidden world, the Ocala National Forest. We're talking nearly 607 square miles of wild Florida wonder. Imagine spotting black bears on a hike, paddling alongside manatees, or cooling off in 72-degree spring water that sparkles like liquid glass. Now, you might be wondering, all this beauty, all this adventure, what's the catch? Here's the surprise. You can live here without draining your wallet. Median home prices hover between $250,000 and $300,000, with rentals going for $1,000 for a two-bedroom. And groceries average just $300 a month if you shop smart at the local markets. In Florida, that's practically a jackpot. And when you're not out riding or swimming, Ocala still delivers. The Appleton Museum of Art holds more than 24,000 works, from European masters to bold local artists, and yes, one of the finest equine collections anywhere. And when the sun sets, the locals know where to go. Big Lee's Barbecue. We're talking brisket, ribs, and mac and cheese that have reached cult status. So if you've been searching for a place that mixes elegance with adventure, affordability with small-town magic, Ocala doesn't just check the boxes, it reinvents them. And as wild as Ocala is, wait until you see what happens when rockets light up the night sky in our next city. Number 9. Titusville. Imagine sipping your morning coffee when the ground trembles, the air shakes, and a rocket streaks into the sky in blazing orange. In Titusville, that's not a bucket list moment. It's just Tuesday. This is where cosmic wonder collides with small-town calm. With fewer than 50,000 residents, Titusville is cozy enough to keep its soul, yet big enough to pack in adventure. Downtown, neighbors greet each other before heading to Spaceview Park, the country's best open-air rocket viewing spot. Families set up lawn chairs, strangers become friends, and history is written again and again across the water. And it's not just rocket launches. Just minutes away lies 140,000 acres of wild marshland, the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. Bobcats prowl, otters play, and more than 300 species of birds fill the sky. Drive the Black Point Wildlife Drive, and you might see alligators basking, or roseate spoonbills glowing pink against the water. Now, here's what makes Titusville even more surprising. Living here won't break the bank. Homes average between $200,000 and $250,000. Rentals hover near $1,200 for a two-bedroom, and groceries land around $350 to $400 per month. For Florida, that's rare affordability, especially when your backyard includes dolphins, marshes, and astronauts. Life here also happens outdoors. Titusville is officially a trail town, where the legendary Trail Trifecta connects the East Coast Greenway, the Coast to Coast Trail, and the St. Johns River to Sea Loop. Cyclists love it. hikers wander the enchanted forest sanctuary. Kayakers paddle the Indian River Lagoon, and birders stroll Chain of Lakes Park. Finally, downtown ties everything together with historic streets, boutique shops, cozy cafes, and museums that celebrate both riverside charm and spacefaring milestones. And when night falls, the glow of Kennedy Space Center lights up the horizon, a constant reminder that in Titusville, small-town life shares a front-row seat to the future. And if you think living among rocket launches is surreal, wait until you see the Florida city where your backyard canals stretch farther than Venice itself. Number 8. Cape Coral. Some towns have streets. Cape Coral has canals, more than 400 miles of them. That's 15 times more than Venice, Italy. Imagine trading your driveway for a private boat dock, or watching sunsets turn waterways into rivers of fire right from your backyard. It's no wonder more than 230,000 people already call it home. Homes here keep things reasonable, even with canals running through the city. Median home prices sit around $350,000 to $400,000. Rentals average about $1,500 a month. Add in Florida's no state income tax perk, and suddenly Cape Coral looks less like a fantasy and more like a reality. So what's life like once you're here? Pure sunshine. The Caloosahatchee River and Matlacha Pass flow straight into the Gulf, meaning your weekends might be boat rides to barrier islands or lazy afternoons on shell-strewn beaches. Public ramps dot the city, while kayakers wind through mangroves in the 4-Mile Cove Ecological Preserve, sharing the water with manatees gliding under the boardwalk. But Cape Coral has another surprise guest. Florida's largest population of burrowing owls lives right here, turning front yards into little wildlife sanctuaries. Neighbors don't just mow lawns, they leave patches of habitat where these wide-eyed locals set up shop. On land, the Cape Coral Farmers Market buzzes every weekend, filled with tropical fruit, baked goods, and live music. The Historical Museum offers a butterfly garden alongside quirky local lore. And when hunger strikes, take your pick. Refined seafood at Fishtail Grill or carefree fun at Gator Mike's Family Fun Park. Number 7. Pensacola. They don't call Pensacola the city of 5 flags for nothing. Spain, France, Britain, the Confederacy, and the United States have all flown their banners over this Gulf Coast jewel. Founded in 1559, it isn't just Florida's oldest city, it's the oldest European settlement in the United States. And when you walk its streets, you can feel it. Every brick, every wrought iron balcony, every fort seems to whisper stories from centuries past. Yet for all its history, Pensacola isn't frozen in time. With just over 53,000 residents, it's the kind of city that feels lively without ever losing its Gulf Coast soul. You can step back in time at historic Pensacola Village, where costumed interpreters bring pioneer days to life in 30-plus preserved buildings. Or climb the 177 steps of the lighthouse for sweeping views of a shoreline so glittering it almost looks unreal. And here's a fun twist. Just across the bay, Fort Pickens still stands tall. Once a Civil War stronghold, today it's a backdrop for hikes, picnics, and sunsets you'll never forget. Living here doesn't come with tourist trap prices. Homes average between $240,000 and $270,000. Rentals hover near $1,200, and grocery lands around $300 to $350. With the cost of living about 14% below the Florida average, there's more room in the budget for seafood feast, art festivals, and maybe even your own kayak. Of course, the beaches are Pensacola's crown jewel. Over 50 miles of sugar white sand and emerald green water that looks like it belongs on a postcard. But just when you think the view couldn't get any better, the skies explode. The Navy's own Blue Angels call Pensacola home, and when they roar overhead in tight formation, locals flood the beaches and rooftops to watch. Culture runs just as deep as the coastline. The National Naval Aviation Museum, free to enter, is packed with vintage aircraft and lets you catch practice runs from the Blue Angels themselves. Year-round, the city throws festivals that blend art, food, and music into one long celebration of Gulf Coast life. Number 6. Lake City. What if Florida's version of paradise wasn't theme parks or crowded beaches, but crystal springs so clear they look like glass, and a town where neighbors still wave from their porches? That's Lake City, a place locals lovingly call Florida's Springlands. With fewer than 13,000 residents, Lake City feels more like a close-knit community than a city. Stroll down Marion Street's historic district, and you'll see storefronts that look like they've been frozen in time. The legendary Blanche Hotel once welcomed everyone from Al Capone to Johnny Cash, and the small museums here dig deep into Civil War stories and pioneer days. It's history you don't just read, you walk right through it. But let's be real, the real headliner here isn't the buildings, it's the water. Rum Island Springs sparkles like a fairy tale swimming hole, and the Ichetucknee River, famous for its turquoise flow, pulls in tubers, kayakers, and snorkelers every summer. If you're more into hiking boots than inner tubes, Falling Creek Falls hides a 10-foot waterfall deep in the woods, just waiting to surprise you. And when you want room to breathe, Alligator Lake Park spreads out across 1,000 acres of wetlands, trails, and moss-draped oaks, complete with disc golf if you're feeling playful. Now, here's the part that makes jaws drop: the price tag. Homes average around $230,000 to $270,000. Rent for a two-bedroom hovers under $1,300, and groceries usually land between $350 and $400 per month. Before we jump to the next spot, don't forget to like this video and drop a comment telling us, if you could live anywhere in Florida, where would it be and why? Number 5. Deltona. They call it Florida's bright spot, and once you land here, you'll get why. Sitting right between Orlando's theme park fireworks and Daytona's roaring speedway, Deltona doesn't try to outshine them. Instead, it offers something completely different: a green-spirited, down-to-earth city where community comes first. Now, don't mistake it for some tiny backroad town. With more than 100,000 residents, Deltona is a full-fledged city, but it somehow manages to hold on to that small-town warmth. Affordability is Deltona's secret weapon. Homes average $270,000 to $300,000, and two-bedroom rentals hover near $1,700. Compare that to nearby Orlando or the coast, and suddenly Deltona looks like the smart choice for anyone craving space without those jaw-dropping price tags. But the real magic hides in the water. Yes, it's a commuter-friendly city, but tucked inside Deltona is Green Springs Park, a surreal emerald pool that looks more like a fantasy movie backdrop than real life. Pair that with the Lyonia Preserve, where endangered scrub jays filth through the pines and gopher tortoises lumber along sandy trails, and you've got a rare slice of Florida wilderness right in your backyard. Add 23 city parks covering more than 300 acres, and your weekends suddenly turn into picnics, boardwalk strolls, and trail adventures under giant oaks. And Deltona knows how to throw a party. Every year, Springfest turns the whole place into one giant block party. Live music, dancers in vivid costumes, and the mouth-watering smell of global street food drifting through the air. Don't worry if you miss it. Nearby, you'll still find the Blue Springs Manatee Festival, Latin Fest, and the Volusia County Fair lighting up the calendar. Ask locals what it's like, and they'll tell you: cheaper than the beach, friendlier than the city, and everything you need within reach. Schools are solid, essentials are close, and you're far enough from the tourist chaos to breathe, yet close enough to Orlando and Daytona when you want big city thrills. And if you thought Deltona felt like a hidden win, just wait, because the next stop is buzzing with music, art, and indie coffee shops, and a price tag that might just shock you. Number 4. Gainesville. It's a college town, sure, but Gainesville is hiding something even more unusual: wild bison. Yes, bison, and we'll get back to that. On the surface, Gainesville looks like the perfect blend of brains and charm. With under 150,000 people, it's not overwhelming, but it's never dull either. The city's energy shifts like a playlist. Students bring the beat, families keep the harmony, and retirees add a layer of calm that ties it all together. But living here doesn't cost an Ivy League fortune. Median homes float around $250,000 to $300,000, while one-bedroom rentals hover near $1,200. For a city with culture, concerts, and coffee shops on every corner, that's a rare bargain in Florida. Of course, you can't talk about Gainesville without mentioning the University of Florida. The massive campus isn't just for students, it spills over into city life. Locals enjoy free museum nights, art galleries, and cultural performances, while retirees even sit in on classes for the fun of it. It's like living in a city where curiosity is the official language. But Gainesville isn't just college town forever. It's got its own pulse. The Harn Museum of Art and Florida Museum of Natural History are world-class. The Hippodrome Theater throws down with bold plays and indie films, and the local music scene is almost mythic. Tom Petty grew up here, and Rolling Stone once called Gainesville the best place to start a band in America. Not bad for a city where jam sessions spill from garages into legendary venues like High Dive and Heartwood Soundstage. Then there's the outdoors, which is where Gainesville pulls its best trick. Trails wind through nature preserves, sandhill cranes wander into parks, and turtles sunbathe on logs right in town. And remember those bison I mentioned earlier? Head to Payne's Prairie Preserve, just south of the city, and you might spot a herd of bison and wild horses grazing under wide open skies. Florida doesn't get more unexpected than that. Number 3. Lakeland. They don't call it Lakeland for nothing. This central Florida city is ringed with 38 sparkling lakes, where swans glide like royalty, and downtown mixes vintage postcard charm with modern hangouts. Perfectly placed between Tampa and Orlando, it delivers big city access with a laid-back front porch vibe. With just under 125,000 residents, it's lively, but never overwhelming. And the beauty? It's everywhere. The Lake-to-Lake Trail ties together more than a dozen shimmering lakes into a 26-mile loop. Bonnet Springs Park delivers 168 acres of gardens, trails, and springs practically spilling into downtown. And then there's the Circle B Bar Reserve, where bald eagles soar, gators bask, and photographers call it one of the best wildlife spots in the state. But here's where Lakeland takes a fascinating turn. This isn't just a nature town. It's also a cultural heavyweight. Florida Southern College holds the largest single-site collection of Frank Lloyd Wright architecture in the world. Lake Mirror Promenade and Hollis Garden bring old-world elegance with fountains and floral displays that feel like a movie set. And if you're craving nostalgia, the Polk Theater has been dazzling crowds since 1928, while the Silver Moon Drive-In still lets you watch movies under the stars. Lakeland is gorgeous, and it's practical. Homes generally run between $280,000 and $320,000, with rents around $1,300 a month. That's slightly below the national average, and prices here have dipped a little in the past year through July 2025, something bargain hunters will want to keep their eyes on. But the story of Lakeland is more than numbers. It's flavor and flair. Locals wake up early to snag Born and Bred's famous cruffins, sip coffee inside book-filled nooks at Pressed LKDL or Unbound Bookery, and gather at the Joinery Food Hall where tacos, ramen, and craft cocktails meet under one roof. On First Fridays, the city turns into a block party of food trucks, music, and community energy. And sure, the lakes are gorgeous, but the real story here involves a royal gift. Decades ago, Queen Elizabeth II sent Lakeland a pair of regal swans, and their descendants still glide across Lake Morton today, tended to like celebrities. It's the kind of quirky, unforgettable detail that makes Lakeland more than just another Florida town. Number 2. Dade City. Dade City may be known for its kumquats, but this small town has plenty more to offer. Shaded by old oak trees and lined with brick streets, it's home to antique shops filled with unique finds, historic houses full of character, and community festivals that bring everyone together. With fewer than 10,000 residents, Dade City is small in size, but rich in personality. Stroll the Church Street Historic District and you're walking through a living time capsule. 34 preserved landmarks packed into just 14 acres. Downtown adds its own sparkle with quirky boutiques, cozy cafes, and antique stores where you never know if you'll uncover a Civil War relic or a vintage postcard from a forgotten era. And life here is refreshingly affordable. Homes run about $260,000 to $320,000, well below Florida's average, and rents sit at near $1,200. For a place with this much character, it feels like you're getting away with something. But what really ties the community together are its celebrations. The legendary Kumquat Festival draws tens of thousands every January with pies, marmalades, and even kumquat wine. Later, vintage cars roll into the downtown cruise-in, and the Christmas parade turns Main Street into a holiday movie set. Still, the real hidden gems aren't the festivals at all. For history lovers, the Pioneer Florida Museum and Village lets you step into a one-room schoolhouse, tour a Civil War-era home, and even climb aboard a 1913 locomotive. And just when you think Dade City is all about the past, you stumble on something unexpected, like the Giraffe Ranch Safari, where you can feed giraffes face-to-face. And when the day winds down, locals head to Florida Cracker, lunch on Limoges, a beloved spot serving pecan-crusted grouper and coconut layer cake inside a historic 1908 building. The kind of place where the owner might remember your name before your second visit. Dade City is charming, affordable, and full of quirks. But the number one spot takes us somewhere even stranger, a town that looks frozen in the 1800s and is still affordable today. Number 1. Micanopy. In Micanopy, time doesn't rush. It strolls under the oak branches draped in Spanish moss, whispering stories from centuries past. This is Florida's oldest inland town, settled in 1821 and officially incorporated in 1837. With only about 650 residents, it's tiny, but every corner feels like you've stepped straight into living history. Take Chilaka Boulevard, for example. Antique shops glow at twilight, tucked inside brick storefronts softened by moss-draped trees. The historic district spans nearly 470 acres with 35 preserved landmarks, from weathered cottages to the stately Herlong Mansion, a bed and breakfast wrapped in verandas that looks like it leapt out of a Victorian novel. And tucked inside the 1890 Thrasher Warehouse is the Micanopy Historical Society Museum, where Seminole stories, frontier families, and centuries of change unfold before your eyes. But here's the twist. Micanopy isn't just a museum come alive. It's a town with a heartbeat. Each fall, the Artem Art Festival transforms its quiet streets into a living canvas, where artists fill every corner and neighbors gather under the oaks. It's no wonder why they call it the town that time forgot. The food here is as soulful as the setting. Start with guava turnovers at Mosswood Farm Store and Bakehouse, a 1910 cracker cottage turned bakery. Grab a Cuban sandwich and black beans at the Old Florida Cafe. Follow the locals when the sun dips low, and some will point you to Pearl County Store for smoky brisket, others to Blue Highway Pizza for pies baked with love. Here's the kicker. For all its magic, Micanopy is shockingly affordable. Homes average between $320,000 and $350,000, while rent hovers near $1,000. For a place that feels like another century, that's almost unreal. But the biggest surprise? It's in the wilds just beyond town. Tuscaloosa Preserve teems with otters and herons. Price's Scrub offers miles of peaceful trails. And the Micanopy Native American Heritage Preserve hides layers of archaeology beneath its paths. And then comes the reveal. Payne's Prairie Preserve, a sweeping landscape where, yes, wild horses and bison still roam. Most people don't believe it until they see it. Micanopy is more than Florida's oldest inland town. It's proof that life doesn't have to race ahead. Here, the past and present walk hand in hand at just the right pace. We hope you loved exploring with us today. Up next, we've got another beautiful destination you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching.